I've walked into a home on the final walkthrough, and it's excitement. Things are fixed in same or better condition 90% of the time, and this is the first time where honestly my jaw dropped.
Welcome, friends and family. Excited to be here with you for our 8th interview with Miss Ciera Anglin. She is doing a phenomenal job. Come in and has really taken off in her real estate sales career. 24, you turned 24 recently?
Yes, I did.
Had a birthday last month.
Yes.
So when you came to us, you were 23.
Yes, I was.
Graduated from Tech with a degree in marketing.
Yes, sir.
You had a father that was in sales all your life, and you've seen your dad, phenomenal man we love, Mark Anglin, great lender, and you've seen him work, and you've seen what sales was like.
Oh, yeah.
But you never really participated.
No,
sales.
never really saw the backgrounds of it, just very surface level.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, yeah, I grew up hearing him on the phone 24/7, would visit him at his work and kind of just sit in and see what he was doing. So I knew that there was a lot of work behind it, and not that I never saw myself doing what he was doing, but I just never thought that it was achievable to be involved in that environment without some sort of prior experience. Does that kind of make sense?
You know, Ciera, when we had the privilege of meeting you and your family, I think it was, I'm going to go back to, and this is a guess, but maybe 8 years ago, my wife, Lindsay, took on a challenge to go after for-sale bounders. So she would start calling for-sale bounders. She would set the appointment. She would go in, and my wife's a little different. Her mindset wasn't that she was going there just to do a dog and pony show. She was there to list her home. So she came fully equipped with all the comps and with the price that she thought it should be, and she met with your dad and mom, and they interviewed her. And then shortly after, I don't know if you know this or not, but your dad and mom invited us to go to Seven Senses, and we had a meal together.
Oh, I did not know that.
And we sat down, and he shared with us a little bit about his plans. And I think at that time he was going to be working in, I want to say, Wyoming?
Reno, Nevada.
Nevada, that's right. So he was going to be flying out, and they eventually wanted to get your mother over there. And so that was kind of the game plan. He laid it out to us, and so we understood why he was selling his home.
Right.
And so, so that's how we got to meet your dad. And then years later, you graduate from Tech, you have your degree in marketing, you're looking at a place to put that to work.
Yeah.
And thanks to our connection with your dad, thanks to Lindsay going after the for-sale bounder market, this is how we got here.
Oh, yeah.
So
it kind of fell in my lap, and it wasn't something that I was open to it from the very beginning, but with the connection being there, I didn't want to feel like I wasn't doing my own work to kind of look at other places first as well. But when my dad told me that, I know this person and he has really good just processes and procedures in place, but not only that, but great core values as well, and you can't find that everywhere. So it's hard to be personal and business, but when you can kind of wrap that into one, that's the environment that you want to be in. So ultimately after interviewing, there was no interviewing anywhere else. It was very apparent. So.
And that's awesome, Ciera. And, we got a lot of that leadership training from John Maxwell. And when I remember sitting down and reading his material, and he became like a friend to me when I was 22 or 3 through his books, believe it or not. And it was like everything that you thought a boss had to be. It was totally opposite when John Maxwell's teaching. It was more about that servant leadership. And so what Lindsay and our vision was to build a platform to not just sell real estate, but to use real estate as a platform to encourage, influence, and inspire our teammates to be their very best, so that you could leave a legacy as a person who genuinely cares and delivers great results. So that's what we're trying to build into all the people that we work with. And, I'll be honest, a lot don't make it, and it ain't because of the opportunities aren't there. It's because the work's so dang hard.
It's a lot of work.
And sometimes you can't turn it off. Like, we've had good people come in, good players get 5, 6 going, pending, couple closed. And they're come up to me and they're like, well, Elijah, I didn't realize that I was going to have to be taking calls after 7, 8, sending emails at 9 o'clock at night,
Yeah.
I just didn't quite realize this. So love you, man, but going to find
Not
something
gonna
else to
work.
do. This is more than I want to
Right.
do.
Yeah.
So my dad was a business owner, similar to your dad.
Mm-hmm.
I think he would have excelled if he would have just stayed on the sales side, but he
Mm.
did everything. He did asphalt paving and tree work during the winter. And man, I watched that guy run everything, including shoveling asphalt to going and getting the asphalt to working on the pavers. And I mean, he did
All the
everything,
moving
bidding the
parts,
jobs,
yeah.
everything. And it wasn't always a bed of roses, man.
Mm-hmm.
It was hard, hot work.
Oh yeah.
I remember standing on asphalt driveways at 100-degree days and just sitting there thinking, man, what am I doing here?
Right.
You know, but I love my dad.
Totally.
And I believed in growing the company. Unfortunately, there were some challenges there with me and my brother and a family business, a family
I can
dynamic.
imagine, yeah.
And eventually I knew I needed to try my hand in something else.
Mm-hmm.
So, but again, a lot of people stay away from this because it is so hard. And I know, Ciera, now in 8 months, man, you've been at that windshield full speed. How many pending?
I've got 4 pending at the moment.
Okay, 4.
4 pending, and I've got 16 closed.
16 closed. Our
Yes.
goal for you when you came in was 24. Although I know, Ciera, you set yours higher because you're an overachiever, and we love that. But truthfully, we have learned through experience, man, you've got to be really pushing hard to get to 24. This ain't
yeah.
part-time, half-time, somewhat committed work. You got to be all in.
All in, and it's not anything that some fall in your lap. There's no doubt about it. But these things you have to push for, and if you're not pushing for them, it's not as easy as you think.
Right.
So you hear that. I mean, realtors get leads, and this, that, and the other. We go and open the door for them, but there's so much more preparation, meaning behind the phone calls. I mean, time to take those phone calls when you don't want to, facing objection, facing going all the way through, working up into an offer, and then ultimately getting a declined offer, or as soon as you put in your offer, another offer comes in and it's just a little bit better than yours. So then you feel like all that work goes to waste, and you feel like you're starting back at square one, but you're really just continuing to push forward, if that makes sense.
Makes great sense.
Yeah.
And again, you know, one of the things that we do when people come in is we go through the strength finders. You have 2 amazing strengths, I think, that set you apart. I bet very few people in America have discipline. So you've got that. And I think that gives you the commitment to press through and continue on when a lot of people would say, man, I already put too much time into this, or I'm not cut out for this. You chisel your way through.
Oh, yeah.
It's almost like I see you kind of embrace the challenge a little bit. I know you don't love it, but you embrace it.
And I appreciate that, because I didn't really realize. I realized that I like to do what I set my mind to, but I never associated it back to discipline. I didn't really realize that I was as disciplined of a person that I may have seemed. But since I've taken those tests and been able to really like understand why I do things the way that I do things, I've been really able to lean into it and seeing it, like you said, not as like an end goal, but really just like a steady race that doesn't truly have a finish line.
Yeah.
There's really no true ending.
And that's a growth. That's a good thing. Like, you know, John Maxwell used to say when he was younger, he started off, he wanted to set a goal and see how fast he could get there. As he got more mature, he's like, man, it ain't about how fast I can get there. It's about how far I can go. How far can I grow?
Right.
And so that discipline will help you out when things get tough. You have another strength that I know is a bit of a challenge for this profession. I think I see so many real estate agents out there, and many of you know who you are. You have great empathy. Like, empathy means you care about the situation. You care about the client. That is something we all should have, but I'm going to say a lot of agents out there too don't have that. And that's an issue if you don't care about what's best for your client. So, but that makes that I'm sure is a struggle at times, because you do care so much, because you get involved. You treat these people probably like they're your own family.
Right.
And you really pour into them. You get to know them, get to know their life situations, and then you miss that offer. Or something comes up and it's just you're going to feel it. You're going to internalize it a little more than most, I believe, because of that empathy. I know recently, Ciera, you just went through a really tough one. So let's talk about that just a little bit, because, you know, last thing we want our audience to think is that becoming a real estate agent is super easy and you're going to make a lot of money, you're going to be rich, and all you do, just like Ciera said, is open doors and put on smiles. Okay, so you see that on HGTV, but what we really want is the reality of it. So tell us again, Ciera, a little bit about what's the price point of this property?
Yeah, price point of this property was mid 700,000,
Okay,
about 750,000.
okay, beautiful home overlooking a lake.
Yes.
And tell me a little bit about your clients. Were they local clients, out-of-state clients?
Yeah, great question. So my folks were coming from Southern California.
Okay.
Obviously, a lot of people are kind of making the move from California to Tennessee, and I had the opportunity to help them while they were in the midst of selling their home, kind of help them find a home that was going to work for them, some extended family that was kind of coming out here to start to enjoy life a little bit.
Get away from the
Hustle
probably
and bustle.
and come to a little slower place.
Oh yeah.
But the challenge with that is these people don't know you.
Very
They're
true.
meeting you for the first time. It probably didn't even start. How much time were you actually face to face with these clients?
One showing.
One showing.
One showing. So probably an hour and a half.
Okay.
Max.
And so the introduction, did you guys just meet on the phone, basically, a phone conversation?
Yeah, so actually, funny enough, I had been reaching out to this person and I've been reaching out to the wrong number the whole time. So we actually didn't get in contact until probably about a week in to where we realized that the miscommunication was there, and I ultimately was able to get in touch with them. And yeah, it was a lot of phone communication at first, just getting to know what their needs were, what their wants were, what they kind of wanted to steer away from. And really, they did have this one home in mind. So they were already kind of dead set on what they wanted. But it was just kind of building that rapport over the phone is a little tougher than building that rapport face to face and being able to see and feel each other's emotions. And over the phone, it's easy to have your guard up
You know,
and just be more relatable.
yeah, for sure. You know, we've done studies on this, and I won't be 100% accurate with this, but it's somewhere around when if you took 100% of communication, it's actually 7% of what you say, like 30-something% of tonality,
Wow.
and then body language is the remaining, you know, like, so 60-something%.
I believe it.
Right, so 7% of what you say,
Wow.
a good part of that's tonality, and
Yep.
then the rest of it's body language. And so, you know, like you know, we've heard the example of somebody saying like, Jim, you son of a gun, you, or Jim, you son of a gun.
Right,
you know?
right, yeah.
So it's kind of like in the way you say it, your tonality, and when you can't see people, there's a lot of that you can't pick up on, right?
Oh, yeah. Or
But-
can easily get miscommunicated.
Or get easily in text and all that, right?
Absolutely.
So, but Ciera, you do a great job. You care about your clients. I think that comes across even on the phone. I think they start to realize that. But still, when you got people coming, you know, thousands of miles away,
Yeah.
they're about to make a 700,000 plus
It's a
investment.
lot of stake.
Don't you think they're feeling that? Like, I'm leaving this to
Yes.
come here, and I'm going to put a lot of my value into this area. I
Oh,
don't
yeah.
know anybody. I mean, probably one of the highest stress points for anybody at this time.
Right. And I've never been, I mean, I moved here from California when I was 14, but I didn't see the front end of what that took, the emotions that were involved, and even the roller coaster and humps that they had to go through in order to get here. So, yeah, not being in person, not having the experience that they're immediately feeling or going through, for me to be able to immediately relate to that, for my empathy that I do feel, it can be tough and kind of like putting puzzle pieces together that don't exactly fit, but trying to make it work.
Yeah, and you've been at this now 8 months.
Yes.
A great client that I don't care with you. I know it wouldn't matter if it was 50,000 or 850,000.
Absolutely.
You want to take care of your client.
Oh yeah.
The week of the closing, you go to do a video walkthrough for them. Is that correct? Is that
Yeah.
how that
So
works?
do a video walkthrough. You know, typically before closing on a home, we do a final walkthrough, whether it's a day before closing, a week before closing. So with them still being in California, kind of wrapping things up over there, I got to do a video walkthrough. First, I was just taking a video so I can kind of send it to them and have something tangible for them to go back and look at, and I was going to follow up with a FaceTime call. Well, as I'm going through and flipping lights on, and I've got my camera ready. I walk into the master bedroom, and there's a significant amount of water damage. And this is the first time I had experienced something like this. Being 8 months in, 16 deals deep, I've walked into a home on the final walkthrough, and it's excitement. Things are fixed in same or better condition 90% of the time. And this is the first time where, honestly, my jaw dropped. So, of course, I kind of have to calm my feelings, calm my emotions, and kind of gauge, like, okay, what's my game plan to now call these people and let them know that the home that they thought that they were closing on in a week is now suffering, a few $1,000s of water damage, if not, more.
Now, were they selling a home in California to move into this home?
Yes.
So were they trying to do like the same day closing?
Oh,
like,
yeah. Simultaneous closing
so
kind of deal.
So this is a bigger issue than so they've got a home under contract in California. Yeah. They need to move into this home, and you're going there a week before. Most people do it a day before.
Yeah.
Ain't that great? Why did you go a week before?
That's a good question. I had some showings that were lined up the rest of the week, and I just thought with them closing on their home that they were going to have a lot going on kind of following up those few days prior to actual closing. So I thought, let's just get in. The things that we had kind of wrapped up regarding like inspections and appraisal had been done. So I was like, let's just go ahead and get this over with and just kind of go right to the closing table from there. And thank God we did.
Call it a woman's intuition. So you are there a week early. You walk in, and when you get in there, you see that there's a water leak.
Yes.
Do we know what caused the water leak?
It actually happened to be the master tub. The caulk around it, there was probably about this much missing of the caulk. And there was a leak from the faucet that kind of went around the tub, ultimately went down into the tub, leaked into the floor of the master bedroom.
Wow.
And then
how long had it been doing
fell into the basement.
Roughly,
probably less than a week. This home had been sitting vacant for some time, and so the water hadn't been on. And when they turned the water on to do the inspection and the appraisal, there was no signs of anything. Well, then once the home had been sitting with the water on for a week of just constant, of it constantly being on, that's when I'm not a contractor or anything like that, but to explain it just how I understand it is between that week gap of the appraisal happening and the final inspection, with the seller deciding not to turn that water off for whatever reason, I guess. It leaked through the faucet, and
so it was just a mess.
It was.
And so when you walk in there, your jaw's like on the
I didn't
ground.
even know how to process it or where to go from there, to be honest.
Yeah, and so kind of just to fast forward. Obviously, you call the clients, you tell them what's going on.
Yes.
And unfortunately, in these situations, what I've learned is a lot of times they don't really know how to vent properly. So they kind of take it out on the agent who showed up a week early to help them do a final walkthrough, found an issue, so it didn't have to be on the day of closing.
Right.
We caught this a week early, but their reaction nonetheless probably are kind of stressed, right? You're a lot stressed?
They took it better than I imagined. Honestly, before I called them, I was like, man, I'm gonna feel it through the other side of the phone. But before ultimately like calling and telling them, I had gotten in touch with the listing agent and been like, this is what's going on. We need to kind of start getting some things rolling to see how we're gonna handle this. So while that was going on, I wanted to be sure to have everything, my ducks in a row before I called my client, just so that if they had questions for me, I wasn't left unarmed or unequipped.
That's the gift of being prepared.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I hate going into things unprepared because I just fear the unknown.
Yeah, good for you, though. I mean, good for you that you have enough awareness to know that you need to be prepared before making that call.
I appreciate that.
Because a lot of agents might have called and just said, "Oh my goodness, you ain't gonna believe what just happened. The whole floor's falling out, and the bottom's in the tubs in the basement." So you caught your composure. You made a tough phone call.
Oh, it was a tough one. Yeah.
And they took it okay.
They took it okay.
And you talked with the other agent, tried to get on the same page the best you could to let's get this thing moving forward.
Yes.
Okay, let's fast forward now to here we are, the day of closing, and how are your the work's been done,
Yeah.
but it probably wasn't done to the par and to the level that these folks would have expected, right?
Sure.
And they can't be there to see the work, so all you can do
Exactly.
is just kind of video it.
Yep, we're taking photos, videos, kind of where the leak was. It was like up in a ceiling. It was kind of underneath the tub, so it was in some.
You had to move your buddy and all kind of.
Yeah, you
ways
kind of had
get
to
it.
maneuver to get some photos or whatnot, but
But the work's been done.
The work
and
had
the
been
insurance
done.
is paid for it.
yes.
But these people are making a huge investment.
Oh,
And they
absolutely.
can't be right there to stand over it.
Yes.
And this is some big time stress.
Oh my gosh.
And
Yeah.
and so you're going to feel a little of that, right? They're going to are they
Yes.
projecting any of that on you?
I mean, I think just through the communication from buyer to buyer's agent, of course, I'm going to be the one that kind of receives some feeling, some emotion, but nothing. I mean, it's all viable. And again, of course, I've never been through what they're going through and felt the emotions that they're feeling. You know, making a huge life investment, bringing their whole family here, selling their home, and maybe feeling like with this going on, they don't have anywhere to go if this isn't going to work out the way that they feel. So,
Yeah, no plan B.
yeah, absolutely. So as an agent, I'm kind of receiving their raw emotions and not being used as a punching bag, but sometimes it can feel like that because I'm just that immediate receiving end of the news I'm having to tell them without them having the time to process it or
Yeah.
kind of sit and talk together of what their game plan's going to be,
Yeah.
especially a week to closing. I mean, if we had like a few weeks or even a month to kind of handle this
Yeah.
and figure this out, I could imagine, you know, there would have been a little more of a level playing field. But with a lot at stake and emotions being very high, it can feel a little intense.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So.
And I think that's the main thing I want everybody to hear here is that when you're working in real estate and you're helping people either sell or buy property, this is one of their biggest investments ever.
Oh yeah.
And when a little thing goes wrong, like, okay, I might look at that and say, man, that's just a bathroom. That's a basement. That's all fixable. But if you don't come from a background of construction or you're not even there to see it and you're thinking of the big investment you're about to make, you can make a mountain out of a molehill. That can happen real easy. And so I want you to understand that if you were ever thinking about getting in a real estate career, that you are going to pick up on their raw emotions and they are going to process and they're going to vent some of that right onto you. And you've got to be able to have the discipline to know it's not personal. It isn't even about me. This is about them making the best decision for them. So, Ciera, if I remember correctly, you told them if this ain't the right home for you, because we get to the closing table, the work isn't done to the standard. It's done.
Right.
And probably done pretty well.
Yes.
But not to the standard that these folks had wanted it to be. Or,
Sure, that they would have liked. You know, and yeah, I mean, we had let them know, you know, this is kind of where the sellers are at. This is kind of what they've done and are willing to do. And, you know, if this ultimately isn't right for you, we understand. And that's a hard thing to say, not only for the client, but for you as an agent, just kind of looking on the agent's perspective, you feel like you've done all you can up until this point. We've been under contract at this point for 45 days. Emotions are still high. And sometimes as an agent, as much as you're trying to level that out, you can't. And so luckily having a team in place, we're kind of able to pull in some help and some support and kind of help explain things that since I'm only 8 months in that I maybe couldn't have explained the best. But one thing at the very beginning of training, what I learned from KC actually is thermostat versus thermometer. And a thermometer obviously takes your temperature and reads up to the level of what you are. In a thermostat, you set the temperature and you kind of regulate it. You know, goes up and down, up and down. So your client is kind of the thermometer where it's reading exactly where it's gauged. Tensions are high, and you don't want to be that thermometer. You want to be that thermostat where you're set and you're level. And you kind of have to digest things and relay that over to them in a sensible way without getting your emotions involved and matching their emotions. So through all of that, I was trying my best to kind of keep that composure, but with dealing with things that I haven't dealt with before, I could honestly admit that some of my emotions got too high. And I tried to reinforce that and hold it back, but sometimes it just...
Well, I mean, you know, again, 24, 8 months in the business, received in a very stressful and challenging situation. And I am sure you held it together to the best of your ability.
Absolutely.
And I don't think your goal was to ever put that stress on the client. You tried
Not
to kind
at
of
all.
help them. And it's okay if a client vents. There's a place where it goes too far, for sure. But also, you kind of learn to anticipate some of this, and you kind of just don't internalize it.
And
It's
I
not
can
personal.
do that. I can do that.
Yeah, and I think we all, and I think people that care can easily. But the truth is, it's more about them than it is about us. So if we can kind of take ourselves out of that equation and say, I kind of get it, like you said, it's this big life change. Allow them to vent, usually a lot of time. And then also, I think it's beautiful. It's, it'd actually be what you would call a takeaway sell. But that ain't what you're trying to do. You're just saying, hey, look, if this ain't the home for you, and we've been through this 45 days, you want to back out, we can do that.
Right.
We'll go find you another home. We're okay with that. But because it needs to be what's right for you.
Absolutely.
And when you do that, man, it's just kind of like lifting the pressure valve.
It does. It does.
And you find out what they really want.
Yes.
They really wanted the home, right?
Oh, yeah.
So they did close?
They did close.
All right.
We ended up closing the day that we were supposed to. We kind of didn't know. It was a little bit up in the air of whether we were going to go a few days past, if we were going to close it all. There was still a little bit of left up to question at the end there, but ultimately, with myself, the team, the listing agent, the seller, the buyers, we were able to all come together and get the deal closed. And so that's what was most important.
Excellent. These people are in the home they wanted.
Yes.
They had to fight for it just like you had to fight for them.
Yes.
And Ciera, 8 months in, 13 sold, 4 pending, and just turned 24. You're learning a lot. You're hitting the windshield head on.
Yes.
Now, what's one big nugget or one big lesson that you would say, like looking back, if you could have done anything differently, what would that be?
Well, I think through this process, I gained a little bit more of a backbone, honestly. Things that I feel that could have been better, or things that could have, changed through the process of the deal. I feel like if I stood my ground a little harder, that things maybe could have been different. Taking ownership of some of the results, or even throughout the process of some things that happened. Just having the best.
Doing what's best by your client.
Doing what's best for the client, having the client's best interest in mind. I've always had my client's best interest in mind, but this is a situation that I will put in my back pocket, that is engraved in my brain now, and will absolutely strive to do better next time.
So, I was in kind of a thought process. Do you even talk about the earnings on that? But, the dollars and the cents that you earned because it got to close is so small compared to the lesson that you shared with all of us. And that's tough to get that backbone in real estate because, a lot of people that are drawn to real estate are competitive. They're, a lot of them are entrepreneurs. So they can be some of the toughest people to deal with.
It's true.
And
I was told that. I was told that coming into real estate, like, this isn't an easy business. Like, you've got to work for what you want, and it's. I heard the word ruthless, and it can be in a lot of ways. But if you just hold true to who you are, do the right thing,
that's it,
and push for your clients.
Yeah,
it's
so often that's exactly right, and so often it's going to work out regardless of how much we get ourselves involved. So the zooming out, as Lindsay said, zoom out, assess. But we've got to always look at what's the best interest of our client, and when we do that, we're going to win. And sometimes it's just letting things kind of work itself through.
Sure.
I mean, at the end of the day, I think the other side coughed up $10,000 to get the deal to close.
Yes.
So it worked out about like it was supposed to.
Right.
But for you, you're saying that you probably seen some of that early on. And it's easy to, when you look at the other agents that are in the business 7, 8, 9, 10 years,
Sure.
and here you are 8 months, it's a little bit of a challenge sometimes to
Yeah.
step up.
It's a little intimidating.
Yes.
Sometimes, not that I feel that sometimes my points aren't valid, but I'm just afraid to overstep an agent that has 7 to 10 years of experience. Because who am I? What's going through my head is like, who am I compared to them? But comparing isn't.
No, it ain't
What's-
great, but
yeah.
but there is that's just a fact. And
just
so
honest, yeah.
today you're that much better
Yes.
because you chose to embrace that lesson, learn from it. Hey, everybody they got in the house, they got fixed, plus they got $10,000.
Right.
I mean, clients probably couldn't be no happier.
Sure.
And at the end of the day, everything worked out.
It
But
did.
the lesson to learn for you was next time I'm in a situation and I kind of feel that this is what's right and what's best for my client, I'm going to speak up even stronger.
Yes.
You did speak up,
Yes.
but you maybe felt like you weren't as hurt as well as you should have been.
I could agree.
Yep. And going forward, that's something that next time you're going to say, I don't know that you understood what I was saying.
Yeah, persist.
Let me try that again.
Persist. Yes. No, I completely agree.
And Lindsay's always told me, you know, what folks want in an agent is just to know that we've got their back. And when they know that, that brings them a lot of comfort.
Yes.
Now, there's some people, no matter how hard we try, Ciera, we're never going to be able to help.
Right.
That's just life. But the majority of the people out of the 13 closed so far, 4 pending, I mean, they've all come with challenges, but the people themselves, you've probably made new friends, built better relationships.
More than ever.
Yeah.
More than ever.
But you're going to have these harder ones, these outliers, and they're the ones that make us that much better going
Yeah.
forward. Yeah.
And I didn't see it that way at the beginning of this process.
Yeah.
But it's so hard not to see it that way now. I mean, it's so evident. So to, take that and take it for what it is, keep on pushing forward, don't look back, keep pushing forward.
And that was, what, 2.5 weeks ago?
Yes.
So, I mean, it's still pretty fresh, and,
Yes.
and it's still very kind of a tender spot, but that life lesson that you learned will be invaluable.
Oh,
Invaluable.
yeah. For real estate and personal life.
Yeah.
So,
And so we should call anybody that we've had a challenge with in our life that's been tough and just say, hey, man, I appreciate you going through that. It was a little bit of a rocky boat, but hey,
Yeah.
we got on the other side, and thank you for giving us an opportunity to learn and grow together.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
I appreciate
and
it a lot.
appreciate you, Ciera. Thank you for what you're doing here.
Absolutely.
Guys, hey, if we can be of any help to you ever in any way, you let us know. We're excited to continue to go into our fall season right here in real estate. Today is September. We're towards the end of September, and we're fixing to get into the fun part of the season. As you all well know, the Fed's just dropped the interest rate 0.5 point. I think we're going to see a lot of fun going on to the end of the year. If we can do anything, you let us know. Thank you.